As we approach closer to the end of October and about 2 to 3 weeks away from the PlayStation 5 launch day, there's still a lot of unknowns about the game that we are all looking forward to, and that is Gran Turismo 7. So with Gran Turismo 7, they really haven't announced much news or much information. We still don't even know when the game is coming out, whether it's going to come out on launch day, which is something I hardly believe is going to happen, or whether it's going to come out even in 2020 or in 2021. The only thing we do know is that they did release a trailer back earlier this year, and it was just a reveal to have a couple of things, which were brand new tracks, a little bit of features, and also some cars that they were going to put into the game. So when going into the Gran Turismo games, I have played over hundreds of hours on Gran Turismo Sport, so I feel like I have a lot of knowledge about what the game offers, what I feel it can improve on the game, and what is bad on the game. So this list I'm having is going to be in no order, and also you have to remember that I am talking about Gran Turismo in a space where I do use a steering wheel, so it might be a little bit different for people who use controllers, as controller and steering wheel on this game is night and day, and just something to keep an eye on when I go through this list. So that's enough wasting your time. Let's jump into these 5 things I feel Gran Turismo 7 should implement on their game to make it better than Gran Turismo Sport. Now, touching on our first subject, the very first thing that I want to talk about is better connectivity on lobbies. So what I mean about this is more towards the multiplayer aspect of Gran Turismo, and when jumping into the PlayStation 5, I do know that they are upgrading their Wi-Fi hardware compared to the PlayStation 4, which means that it is going to be faster downloading speed, faster uploading speed, and hopefully better connectivity when playing against people around the world. So Gran Turismo, when you do race on a lot of these lobbies, whether it's sport or FIA races, they are region locked, so you do race against people in your region. But even with that, I found a lot of issues when you are racing against people in your region. But in addition, as well as, it gets worse when you try racing against people on the other side of the globe, which is understandable. I can see that being an issue, especially because of how far the internet connection has to travel. But when you are racing against someone in the same region, I feel like there shouldn't be a lot of these issues that we experience here on Gran Turismo Sport. Now, one of the things that I have experienced on Gran Turismo Sport, which I'm pretty sure a lot of you have as well, is lagging out on the beginning of the races. So I've noticed that, especially on private races, if you do go into some of these lobbies, that for some reason that the game glitches out and you can't go onto the track from the pit or even start a race. Sometimes, especially that I've seen recently on sport mode, you try to start the race and some people just get disconnected, as it takes a very long time to get onto the game, and for some reason people just lag out, and it's very infuriating, especially because you have to wait an extra 20 to 30 minutes just for the next race. And I just feel like it's something that is inexcusable when it comes down to having it as many times as this issue occurs on some of these races. Now, another thing that I have experienced also is something called lagging starts. So when we do go on a rolling start before the race even starts, everyone just goes backwards, forwards, starts turning left and right, and just looks like headless chickens going around the track. And then after about maybe 2 or 3 minutes, after a couple people have left, then the race goes underway. But sometimes it could be pointed backwards, sometimes it could be faced the correct way, or sometimes you're just somewhere off on the grass, and it's very, very infuriating to see, especially when you get into some of these lobbies that are counted towards your driver rating and sportsmanship rating. So I feel like this is just something that Polyphony needs to fix on and just get better on. I could see it happening every once in a while, but the amount of times that it happens during the games and during some of these lobbies, it's just, I feel like something that should have been addressed and fixed a long time ago. But hopefully Polyphony fixes this on Gran Turismo 7. Now, the next topic that I want to touch on is a little bit controversial, and that is the penalties. So if you guys have raced on sport or on FIA races on multiplayer, you guys know that penalties is like a plague. Everybody does not like them. Everybody complains about them, including me, and I feel like I have not met anybody on the Gran Turismo community that actually likes the penalty system on this game. Now, there's plenty of ways that they could fix the penalty system, but they have tried throughout the years to make it better just by listening to community, and I honestly feel like they're heading in the right direction, but there's just some things that they can do to make it a lot better when it comes to the penalty system. So for me, I feel like they just need to start all over again with a brand new penalty system. Maybe get some inspiration from like iRacing or Assetto Corsa, where it's a lot more strict but at the same time lenient when it comes to the penalties and the penalty time given to a person. So what I mean about that is that you should be a little bit more harsher with contact, but not give someone an immediate penalty. So I've had times where I make contact with the side of a car or just make contact with the back bumper of a car and I get a 1 second penalty. I feel like for these type of penalties, when it's just like simple bumping, you should be given a warning, and then if you reach about 2 or 3 warnings, then you get a penalty. But not only that, I feel like there should be a disqualification with the amount of penalties you get. So what I mean about this is that you should get about maybe 6 to 7, maybe 10 penalties before you get disqualified in a race. And I feel like this can easily improve on better racing and enhance the experience with Gran Turismo 7. So with disqualification, it promotes for a lot cleaner racing, since people are going to try to stay away from each other as much as they can, because they know that the moment that they mess up and start ramming into people, they're going to be kicked out of that lobby and they're going to lose driver rating and sportsmanship rating. So I feel like this is a really good way of policing people to make sure that they race cleanly throughout the lobbies, and also just promote for a lot better racing so people aren't taking each other out on some of these races. Now again, this is a very controversial subject about the penalties, so a lot of people have different ways about how they would fix the penalties, what they would want to see in the penalties. This is just my take on it. I think that they should just kind of get some inspiration from iRacing, Assetto Corsa, and also some other racing games, and just kind of Frankenstein it all together and kind of get an idea of what works and what doesn't work, and also see what did work and what didn't work on Gran Turismo Sport, and also kind of listen to the community and just go by majority. But who knows if they'll fix it? Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Leave it in the comments down below. As for the third thing we're going to talk about, this kind of goes hand in hand with the penalty system, and that is for a new physics engine in Gran Turismo 7. So I have read up that they are going to be tweaking some of the physics dimension on Gran Turismo 7, but these are just some of the things that I've noticed when racing on this game compared to other games, and also just things that I feel like they can improve to make Gran Turismo 7 a lot more better for people when racing on this game. So it might be a little bit different for people on controller, but I feel like with the wheel that these cars are very understeering. So I feel like they should put a little bit more oversteer on some of these cars, just to give them kind of like that fighter sense that you have to really wrestle with the car and actually drive the car to its full potential so that you can take the maximum amount from the car and optimize your time. So just something that I've noticed with a lot of these cars, especially with the Group 4 cars, you just get a lot of understeer on some of these cars, especially going into some of the faster corners. I just think that it should be a little bit more of an oversteer, so you can try to find the balance of, where's the limit of the car, and also where you can make up time. Another thing that I want to touch upon is some of these cars, especially the faster cars, feel very, very floaty and twitchy. So I know with the Group 2 cars, when you go into a hard braking point, it's a very weird sensation going into those braking points, because the car just feels like it floats into the corners. But not only that, it feels like you're almost sliding into the corners, which makes for a really unrealistic feel going into some of these corners. I know it happens a lot with the Group 2 cars, also with the faster Group 1 cars, and it just feels weird because it doesn't feel like you have the weight of the car being pushed down from the downforce, and it just kind of makes you drive the car very differently from how you would drive other cars on this game. So I just feel like that's something that they should implement to make the car a little bit more heavier and a lot less kind of twitchy when you go into some of these corners, especially on the faster ones. Now, the final thing I want to talk about with the physics, and this is just my personal gripe, it is the rumble strips. I feel like with the rumble strips on this game, it just feels like you're driving on ice on some of them. It's just very easy to lose the back end on some of these rumble strips, or if you just go off into the AstroTurf, it just pulls you out. For example, here at Spa, if you go too far off on some of these corners on the rumble strip, it just spins your car right out. Now I know that Gran Turismo does not want to promote track extension. I feel like this is a good way to have cars stay within the confines of the limits of the tracks, but if you accidentally go off, you immediately know that you're going to end up spinning out, especially if you touch those rumble strips on the outside part, or if you just touch that AstroTurf. It just takes the car, spins you right out, and I just feel like it doesn't give any forgiveness. And I think that that's where it comes with the penalty system. If you go too far out, it gives you a warning, and if you get a certain amount of warnings, then it gives you that penalty. But I think that they should be a little bit more lenient with the rumble strips, because it just kind of promotes me from staying away from them, especially on some of these racetracks where if you just touch them, your car just is automatically going for a 180. So this is just one thing that I have. I don't know if you guys feel the same way about the rumble strips, but if you guys do, comment that down below as well. Now on to the fourth topic. This is a little bit more of a personal thing, but I feel like private lobbies should be more customizable. What I mean about this is that I like to go back to Forza Motorsport 4, where I used to play that game for hours and hours on private lobbies, and it just had so much to offer when it came down to private lobbies compared to Gran Turismo Sport. Now, Gran Turismo Sport does a really good job with its private lobbies. It does give you a lot of features customized and to make races be kind of like your own certain Frankenstein of a race, but they do have some things that are missing and some features that I would like to see, and one of those is a one car selection. So what I mean about that is if you want to just race with Porsche 911s from 2008, there should be an option where you could just be able to just pick that car, and that is the only car that anybody could pick. Or if you guys want to just replicate the Nürburgring GP and just race with Formula 1 cars, I feel like there should be a way to just only toggle Formula 1 cars instead of just having it go by group region or just by car type and horsepower. I feel like you should be able to just immediately pick what car you want to have on that lobby, so that you can, it'd be a little more easier for people to have just one make cars, one type car, and just or even just one region car. So it made things a lot more customizable, especially when I've raced against some of my subscribers. Another thing I would like to see is multi-class racing. I know they had this on Forza Motorsport 4 where you can have more than 4 classes in a lobby, and that was so much fun. If you guys want to replicate like a Le Mans or just a 24-hour race, it's so much fun to have multi-class race, and I just feel like that's something that's missing out on Gran Turismo Sport, especially because you have all these different group cars. So you have group 1s, you have the group 2s, you have group 3s and 4s. Why is there not a way to implement it together on the private lobbies where you can have, group 4s and group 3 cars all on the same racetrack, and you guys can have like an endurance race, like whether it's either 1 hour or 2 hours. I feel like this is something that they're missing on, and that would be a really great addition to the private lobbies to have multi-class racing on them. With also talking about private lobbies, I feel also that they should have 20 car lobbies. I understand that they have them on sport mode and they also have it on FIA races, but for some reason on private lobbies they don't have 20 cars limit on these lobbies, which is kind of infuriating to me, especially when you have a lot of people practicing for FIA races. You only get 16 cars, so it's really difficult to get as many people as you can on these lobbies, but also that it's a really difficult practice experience when you are missing 4 cars. You can easily make your way through the field faster than you can with 16 cars than with 20 cars, and I just feel like since you already have it implemented in the game of multiplayer, why not have it on private matches? But I don't know if they're going to add that on in Gran Turismo 7. And for the last thing on private lobbies, again, this is kind of a personal gripe since I do run a lot of open lobby races. But the thing is, it's very difficult to find lobbies. I know that you can enter in a code or you can add a friend to try to find their lobby, but I feel like there should be an easier way to find lobbies, like whether it's implementing keywords. So if you could put like 3 keywords on your lobbies, so let's say you're doing like a FIA practice race, you can put FIA, manufacturer, and nations probably for the 3rd keyword, and someone who is trying to look for a race that has those keywords, you can look for it up on the search term and then just easily find races that match that keyword. And I just think it'll be a lot more easier to find lobbies than having to type in a 24-digit code that Polyphony gives you, or just by having to friend request some people that you probably don't know or probably don't race against, and then having to find them on friends list. So I think there should be an easier way to find lobbies on private matches. So this is just one of the gripes I have, so let me know what you guys think about this too as well. Now the last topic that I want to touch upon is more tracks and dynamic weather. So when Gran Turismo Sport came out, it did come out with a lot less tracks than what we have right now. We have been blessed that they've been able to add about 5 or 6 new tracks free of cost to the game, and I applaud Polyphony for that. But I feel like they can add even more tracks to this game, whether they are fantasy tracks or real tracks. Now Gran Turismo does really well with fantasy tracks. I have to applaud Polyphony. They make some of the best fantasy tracks on the market right now. And like I said, I don't mind them adding an extra few racetracks that are fantasy, but I feel like they should also be able to add a lot more realistic tracks. So I know that they are adding a Daytona, they are adding a couple of other ones around Gran Turismo 7 since those have been confirmed. But I feel like, again, they should be able to add maybe 5 or 10 more tracks on launch, and hopefully it does have a lot more than GT Sport. But when coming to dynamic weathering, this is something that we've been playing for for a very long time, and I just feel like it's a little past overdue with Polyphony and Gran Turismo. So if you don't know what dynamic weathering is, it's basically when the weather changes throughout the race. So let's say that you are starting with a sunny, dry track, and then halfway through the race, it all of a sudden becomes cloudy and starts raining. Well, that's something that we have not seen in Gran Turismo, and that is something that I am hoping for that they can implement into Gran Turismo 7. The hardware should be good enough to be able to handle that physics. We've seen other racing games handle that physics. One particular game is the Formula 1 series. They've been able to have dynamic weathering implemented into the game where it goes from starting in the rain and halfway transitioning into sunny or just a cloudy weather. So that's one thing that I would love to see on Gran Turismo Sport. I know they kind of hinted it on the trailer, but there has not been any confirmation yet whether the weather, how many times can you say that, is going to be dynamic in the game. So it'd be cool to see that. But also touching hand in hand with dynamic weather, I'd like to see dynamic time. So with dynamic time, it's a little bit different. So this would be a little bit more for the endurance race, or even just for the FIA races, where you can start off in the daytime and then it transitions into nighttime. That'd be very cool to see, just getting, you know, that realistic feeling that you started off in the sunset and you slowly, every single time you come out of the corner, you slowly start seeing the sun start setting and setting down as night comes upon you, and then having to know when to flick on the lights. And also it just kind of brings that more of the immersion feel. And not only that, Gran Turismo has a really great night graphics system, so I know that on some of these races already you can have it in night mode, which is I think Bathurst, and also as well as the Nürburgring 24-hour edition. So these are some of the racetracks that I'd like to go on in the middle of the night and just race around them at nighttime, because it just looks so damn good. But it would be awesome to see transition from day to night and also from night to day and some of these other tracks. So I really hope that Polyphony adds that onto Gran Turismo 7 as well as more tracks. So these are the things that I would like to see in Gran Turismo 7. And again, this list is in no particular order, so not one thing is better than the other thing. It's just 5 things that came up on my head that I've been noticing whenever I play Gran Turismo Sport that I wish that they can fix or just add on the brand new game. So my list might look a little bit different from yours. If it does, comment that down below. Let me know what else you guys think that they should add into Gran Turismo 7, or just touch upon some of the things that I talked about here, and let's start a conversation down there in the comments. If you guys really enjoyed the video, which I hope you guys did since you guys made it this far into it, please feel free to subscribe and leave a like on the video, since it really helps out the channel when you guys do so. And if you guys want to follow me on some of my social media, you can add me on Twitter or on Instagram. And yeah, I'm really excited to get more news about Gran Turismo 7. I'm really hoping that they'll be able to release this game by the end of the year, if not by the beginning of next year, but we'll just have to wait and see when the PlayStation 5 releases. So my name is PXCam. I hope you guys really enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.